Well, one of our sports that you probably don't realize is going on right now is soccer, both on the women's and the men's side. And Garrett Jahn, he is here to talk about men's soccer a little bit. It's your spring season. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, let me give some folks some background on you. Garrett is a former Jewell athlete. He was a 4-year letter winner on the soccer teams at Jewell during, I don't know, some of the better days at Jewell at all. 2004, 2007. You're a 2008 graduate, majored in business administration, and your teams made the Final Four in 2006, also ranked number 1 in the nation for a time in 2007. You're an academic All-American for a couple of years, too, so you're way too smart to be in coaching. Welcome to the Happy Hour with the Cardinals show, and soccer in the spring, I guess maybe a little different for some people.
It is a little different. For the most part, it's a chance to get to see our team develop and progress as well as individuals. So a lot of the stuff we do in training is very individualistic, and then we'll branch into a couple other things where it goes team concepts. But for the most part, we start off working on the skills. So some of the guys maybe that are, transferred in, freshman, sophomore, that haven't got a lot of minutes during the fall season, they'll get an opportunity to compete in some of our spring games. So, again, we get a chance to work on different things, polish up what they do well, and then improve on what maybe they initially came in and not quite up to the task initially.
I would guess it also gives you a chance to maybe set some things up for the fall when you start your fall camp and when you come in and start really working toward your season. In terms of individual skills, you can kind of scout them and think about that. Is that a big key?
It is. For the most part, we get an opportunity to see some players. Again, it might not be individuals that are, freshmen for the most part, but other.
Because your freshmen aren't here yet. You're incoming freshmen,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. But our guys that will be sophomores next year that, again, maybe had limited minutes in the fall, we'll get a chance to see them in different positions. And basically our formation could be varied or dictated based off what they give us. And then, again, when we get the freshmen in the fall, it could change things as well. So the spring is an opportunity to try different formations, different strategies and approaches. And then, again, we get 4 competitive dates where we'll get to see different competition. And for the most part, we can work on different things against those opponents. For example, set piece-wise, we can go over some stuff also. So.
Right. What are the matches like? You said you play 4 matches. What are they like?
So we have 4 dates that will compete. April 1st, we play Johnson County Community College at home at 6:30. And then on April 8th, we play Avila, who's a local school as well, at 3:30 at home. The next one's Kansas City Community College, KCK, and that's at 2:30. And then our last game, one of my favorites, is the alumni game, and it's on April 29th. And it's a great opportunity to get the alums out, get some of those players that had, a different experience than we're used to now, share it with the student athletes. So not only is it a great chance for our players to compete against some former alums,
sure,
and guys that have come through the program, but at the same time they get to hear different stories and kind of share their experience as well. It's a great connection.
Up until, I guess it was 2 years ago, we actually had just one coach to coach the women and the men's team. Jefferson Robley did that most recently, and now we've split it. You're the men's head coach. He is the women's head coach after working together for several years. What's the difference in your mind between being an assistant and being a head coach?
Well, for the most part, when you're discussing things with the players, there is no middleman. I mean, often assistants will hear some stuff and be able to relay it to the head coach, kind of bridge the gap. I felt like I did that quite a little bit. I think some of the players at times, don't have for the most part, when they approach their coach, they don't want to put something out there too quickly. And an assistant often can say, hey, let's gauge this a little bit. This is how you should approach it if you think this is something you want to bring up. Or let's go ahead and just nick that all together.
Right. Well, it had to be an experience for you and a learning process, too, your first year. I mean, just for a lot of different reasons. What was that first year like for you?
There was a lot of different things. I think Jefferson did a great job kind of winging me into it, and for the most part gave me a great experience as his assistant and let me do quite a bit of different things that kind of prepared me for the first year. But, yeah, there was still some stuff that I was not quite ready for, or at least didn't anticipate. And I think the first year was good for the most part, just getting my feet wet. I had a great group of guys to work with as well, and I think we have a great group for the future also. But especially the seniors, I just appreciate them and everything that they've done and how easy they made the transition for me.
Garrett Jahn is our guest. He is the head coach of the men's soccer program at William Jewell. Of course, they have their spring season going on right now. But one of the things I'm sitting here thinking, Tom Eisenhower's one, you're the other one I can think of, who have been players, assistant coaches, and now head coaches. I can't think of anybody else on our staff that can answer all three of those. What's that experience been like for you, again, going back to when you were a player to now when you're a head coach?
For the most part, it's been a joyful experience. I love William Jewell College, and I know Tom does as well. And not only individuals that were student athletes, but everybody that comes through loves this place because it is unique, it is special, and it's the relationships that you build. And for me, things have changed a little bit. When I was coming through, again, you said we were a part of different teams. 2006, we made the national tournament Final Four, ranked number one in the nation in 2007, had plenty of all-conference players, academic All-Americans, a bunch of stuff like that. But for me, one of the biggest difference between then and now is just the travel and some of the demands that our student athletes go through, and I think they do a phenomenal job. So when we were in NAIA, during my 4 years, I think we had the national tournament was a long overnight trip, and then besides that, we played 2 teams in the state of Nebraska, and everything else was day trips. So now that we're in the GLVC, we travel 8, 12 hours sometimes. So it's one of those things. Our students do a phenomenal job staying on top, not only athletically, staying in physical top tip, peak physical condition, but beyond that, they're maintaining what they need to in the classrooms, working with one another. I've told Jefferson, I've told multiple people, I am just impressed when we get into our hotel, no matter how late it is, the next day after a long game, both teams, the men and women, are studying together, doing different study groups, preparing for the test when they get back.
Right. Well, you're a little bit different in your travel schedule than, say, softball that plays on Saturday and Sunday. You play on Friday, and then you play on Sunday in a different city, but you have that day in between. Basketball does it the same way. That will bring out some personalities, I think, having that off day.
Yeah, it does. It does. We often will train on the off day before we get going, so whether there's a field or anything that we might be able to make use of, we use the space, stretch the legs. Sometimes we go on team runs. Other times we'll travel to the destination and then actually get on the field that we're planning on playing the next day. But that's early on, and then for the most part we try to do team bonding activities, whether that's we go out in the town that we're in, walk around, kind of see what's there. Whether there is something or not, we get together and kind of venture out as a collective group.
Garrett Jahn is our guest, the head coach of the men's soccer team, a 2008 graduate of William Jewell College. And this is probably not a great question. I'll ask it anyway. I do a lot of this. You had your experience as an athlete, and you've stuck around to be a head coach, although it took a while. But what is the value of the athletic experience, I guess is what I'm getting to. For you, it must have been pretty good to want to stick around.
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier today or yesterday, but for the most part, my experience is I think athletics are good no matter what the community setting is. I definitely think it's a beneficial thing to have at William Jewell College. And for me, during my days as a student athlete, obviously our trip to the national tournament, our conference tournament, all of that was exciting. Loved every moment of it. Loved the guys that I worked with, got to play with, the coaching staff. Jefferson and Chris Sissel at the time was the head coach. Loved working with them. Robo as well.
Robo?
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, great guy. But for the most part, I would say, it's a community, a family sense, and I feel like we still have that within the soccer program. And then beyond that, even my days, I'd love traveling for the other sports. Like what we talked about earlier, anyways, is one of my favorite trips was going down to the lake or the Ozarks to see our basketball team compete in the national tournament. Right. It's one of the greatest experiences I had, and I went with several soccer players, several classmates within business administration. So it's one of those things, the whole campus gets a buzz when things are going well. So I think athletics can just kind of fuel to the fire and make everything a little more passionate, a little more driven.
Garrett, if athletics disappeared, what do you think would happen to colleges?
I think the intensity would drop a little bit. I mean, still great people are at at different educational settings, but for the most part, I do think athletics brings some people together. Even if you're not competing in the sport, you have a classmate that you have a study group with, that you have a tight bond, and it just grows from there. So why wouldn't you want to see them do something that they love and represent the school that you love as well?
Right. Well said. Well said. Garrett Jahn is our guest. He's a native of Park Hill, Missouri. You have family in the area, I'm guessing.
Yep. Parkville, Missouri.
In Parkville?
Yeah.
I guess I said Park Hill. That's the high school, right?
Yeah.
Did you go to Park Hill or South?
I went to Park Hill South.
Park
Panther.
Hill South, okay. But it is Parkville, Missouri, as we all know. So, great, interesting part of Kansas City. What's it like growing up there?
It's pretty nice. It's a quiet little place.
Still live up there?
I live in North Kansas City right now,
Okay.
but looking to get closer to Liberties, closer to the hill. That's the plan.
Yeah, and the new goatee, along with the glasses you're not wearing right now, make you, I told you look like a French professor, something, but you were telling me you're German, right?
German background, yep,
Yeah.
on that side.
Yeah. Do you know a lot of German? Because I know none.
Very little.
Yeah, me too. We'll have to get together and speak English sometime. I've been accused of not speaking English. So. Hey, it's been great visiting with you as always, and looking forward to your second year. Real quickly, when's that first match again you play in the spring?
April 1st, 6:30 at home against Johnson County.
Like a week from, well, it's this Saturday,
Yep,
isn't it?
this Saturday.
All right, well, continued success. We're looking forward to seeing what you do that second year.